Today, Sydney Nolan and I, Hannah McPherson, is going to talk to you about an article, The Preliminary Evaluation of Fast-Forward Language as an Adjuvant Treatment in Language Intervention. First, to discuss the review of literature. There is evidence that interventions treating children with language disorders that consist of modifying the language learning environment are successful. However, these modifications should enable children to learn language more efficiently from their surrounding environment. Research does not currently support conventional compensatory forms of language intervention for improving this skill. Due to the limited amount of evidence support for either intervention style, there is reason to believe that children are exhibiting language deficits throughout their school years even after receiving intervention. Before further details, we are going to tell you what fast-forward language targets. Fast-forward language goes beyond teaching form, content, and use. The variables manipulated in this program are acoustic instead of linguistic, which are contrary to the previously discussed treatments in language intervention. This strategy focuses on the inability to process the rapidly changing acoustic features of the speech stream, which is the basis of what the authors believe to be the underlying factor of language impairment. The purpose of this study was to improve the children's processing of spoken signals and to improve the children's ability to learn. The method of this study consists of 23 children, ages 6 to 8, with language impairments. One of 3 intervention sequences were used for each group. Group A, fast-forward language, followed by narrative-based language intervention. Group B received narrative-based language intervention, followed by fast-forward language intervention. And then Group C waited and then received narrative-based language intervention. This, Group C, is our no treatment group. The authors predicted that after both treatment periods, the group that received fast-forward language intervention, then narrative-based language intervention, would show greater gains on measures of narrative ability, conversational grammar, and non-word repetition than the other 2 groups. Children were recruited in two waves beginning January and May of 2006 and 2007, so that all interventions could be provided over each year's respective summer, with no overlap of the school year.
Now we are going to discuss the referrals that the authors wanted. The referrals were requested for children finishing kindergarten, first grade, or second grade, who were either on the existing caseloads for speech and language or reading services, or who had been identified as being at risk and were being closely monitored by a special education team to evaluate the need for speech and language services. The authors wanted referrals of the children who had not been diagnosed with intellectual disability, they had normal hearing, and they had no history of neurological disorder, such as a stroke, seizure disorder, or closed head injury. The authors also wanted English to be the required primary language in the children's home. This eliminated a large proportion of the Hispanic children in the U.S. The author's original plan for recruiting participants was to include only children referred by speech-language pathologists in the Kansas City public school system. Additional recruiting from the broader Kansas City metro area was necessary in 2007 to attain the numbers of children needed and to obtain a larger number of children who were Caucasian and not Spanish-speaking. The results of the study showed that after the first 5-week phase, the fast-forward language followed by narrative-based language intervention, along with the narrative-based language followed by fast-forward language, outperformed the no treatment group, which was the wait followed by narrative-based language intervention, on 2 narrative measures. And at the end of the testing phase, all 3 intervention groups showed significant time-related effects on measures of narrative ability. There was no major difference between group effects of intervention sequence. The study concluded that the study presents no evidence to bear the claim that fast-forward language improves children's response to a conventional language intervention. Our impressions from the article included: would the outcome be different if giving a longer period of time than 5 weeks? Was the session length of 100 minutes per session too long for the child to attend to? We thought maybe the child became restless and did not want to participate in the activities. We also believe that the study would have been more effective if the sample size was larger than 23 participants. And the last impression we concluded from the article was if the study would have not been done over 2 different summers, then maybe there would have been more participants in the study overall. And the critiques and limitations of the study stated in the article included a small sample size, which is what we previously stated in our impressions. 7 of the 30 children withdrew from the study, which also went along with our impressions, and they withdrew from the study because it was conducted over 2 different summer periods. And the last critique limitation that we drew from the article was that many children had poor attendance, which can definitely affect the outcome of a study. And so that concludes our PowerPoint, and now we're going to give you a handout with all this information on it. Thank you for attending. Have a good day.